Welcome to Town Talk. My name is Jim Lehan, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, and I have with me Jack Hathaway, our Town Administrator. Welcome, Jack.
Good to see you, Jim.
Good to see you as well. It's been at least 24 hours.
Almost, yeah.
Almost. We want to take this opportunity to update you on some of the things that are going on with town. In our town, we have town meeting coming up very shortly. May 7th is the date, and we have, by some standards, not the heaviest of schedules we've had in the past, but it's always the budget time, and that's always an important time. So we wanted to share some of that information with you. So, Jack, why don't you tell us a little bit about the upcoming meeting?
Sure. We have, the meeting will be back at the middle school, which is, I think, good news. People have more comfortable seats again, so I'll be glad to be there. And as you said, it's May 7th, 7 o'clock. We will have somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 25 articles, which is, as you said, light compared to the last couple of years where we've been as high as 80, I think. So, but as you said, some very important articles before us, starting with the budget. We've got, we're going through the heart of the meat of the budget right now. We've got about $1 million of new revenue between new growth, Proposition 2.5 allowances, and additional state aid, although we're right now we're budgeting flat for state aid. At this time, we've got about $2 to $2.5 million of requests from departments and the schools. So clearly, there's a gap that we need to close. But we think we've got some important meetings coming up, and we've got some decisions to make. And but we think we'll be able to close that. And obviously, by town meeting, we'll be ready to present a budget. Combination of the advisory committee and the Board of Selectmen will present a budget that I think will be in good shape for the town.
There are some zoning articles on this meeting. Normally we have our zoning articles in the fall, but we've been working diligently on trying to create a more sort of user-friendly environment for development, especially down in the business district down around 1A, where we have a lot of interest now and could provide some additional commercial revenue from the town. So there will be a few articles on that, and we're having the Zoning Bylaws Study Committee attend our Selectmen's meeting on March 26th, I believe is the date, to discuss those. So we'll defer until that time when we have the committee there to go through some of the recommendations that they're going to be making. But there are two articles on the warrant that I did want to share a little bit with you about. Those of you that have attended town meeting, and we'd love to see more of you, are aware that about 5 or 6 years ago we made some changes to procedural considerations for town meeting. The major change was limiting the number of times people could speak on any particular topic, specifically 2 times. It was well intended. A lot of people think it works, that it's a good process, and that it limits the debate and provides for a more, Efficient, all right, we'll go with that. More efficient way to run town meeting. And but there are those that feel it in some regards has limited the opportunity to communicate. Town meeting is that one time where we really get down to we have the opportunity to sit down with citizens and really go through in detail what's going on in town. And these are important changes. Budget, very significant. And the Board of Selectmen only recommend, the advisory board only recommend. The voters decide. You know, your vote decides every dollar that's spent in this town. So we thought it was time to revisit that. So we'll be bringing forward an article that would eliminate the 2-time limitation. The moderator always has the ability to control the discussion, and it's been the tradition in our town up until the last 5 years that people could speak frequently as long as the questions were seeking new information or they were providing additional information to the topic at hand. So that'll be before the voters at town meeting. Whatever answer they want. We're really putting it on the ballot for your consideration, not necessarily our own. We just think it's something that after time you want to revisit and see whether or not it's accomplishing what you thought it would accomplish. So it'll be an interesting debate. I know there are views about keeping it limited, and there are views about allowing it to be more open.
Yeah, it's funny. I've definitely heard both sides of the argument. There are folks that I think are frustrated, and I think the selectmen have voiced that opinion that it is too limiting, and I certainly can understand that. I've heard other people, kind of newbies, I'll call them, to town meeting who have appreciated it because you don't get a few of the, for lack of a better word, characters, I'll use, who get up there and kind of dominate the
Right.
the microphone. So I'm very glad the selectmen are putting this up there and let town meeting, as you say, let town meeting decide.
The article really is designed designed for the audience in many regards, and there are very differing views on it. So let's throw it up there, and majority wins. So that will be an interesting discussion. The other article that I just wanted to share a little bit about is Old Town Hall. We will be putting an article on the warrant to allow the Board of Selectmen to dispose of that building and either part or all of that property. We've brought this forward before, and I think the issue that's really been there is, was there an alternative use for the land? We hate to give away a resource that at some point in time the town might be able to use. What were the plans in terms of relinquishing that property, so on. So we've spent a lot of time thinking this through. We really don't have a use that we can see either currently or foreseeably in the future. And we have a building that is in need of being removed, I guess is the best way to say it. But we have options. We have a parcel next to the Old Town Hall that, if combined with just the town hall itself, would be a buildable lot. It is in the B1 district, so it could be used for mixed use and would be of value to someone. Or we could look at it as the entire parcel of property, but we would retain an access to Town Pond, which is in back of Old Town Hall. That might bring greater value to someone in terms of potentially purchasing that property. And we need to make what is in the best decision of the town. And in order to do that, we need your permission, the voters' permission, in order to begin that process. And we're going to be asking for the flexibility of having both options on the table so that we can field offers in both directions and see which one might benefit the town.
It'd be good. Before we've always had the problem that recreation was still
Right.
running
Thank you.
programs
Yeah.
out of town hall, and that has ended with the new school.
Right.
So we finally have some our hands free to do something there.
Right. The building is not in use at all anymore. And there are advantages to the parking lot. We'd like to retain the parking lot, but it generates about $3,000, $3,500 worth of revenue per year. And if we had the opportunity to bring in a significant six-figure sum to the town, plus the tax revenue that would be associated with that, that's a pretty fair trade, especially since we think there might be some alternatives to that.
There might be.
Yeah. And one of the things I guess I'm going to throw out, but we discussed last night on the selectmen's meeting, is that what we would do with the proceeds of that sale. And we haven't voted this, and I guess I'll take ownership of it for right now, good, bad, or indifferent. I'd like to see these funds get dedicated to our roads. This winter has been really tough on our roads. Every winter's tough, but this one, the last two storms have really taken a toll. And we never have enough money to repair them. And when you get one-time resources or one-time opportunities like this, you don't want to devote it to an operational consideration because you dig a deeper hole for the following fiscal year when you do that. But you can devote it to one-time capital opportunities, and roads fit that description. So I would favor seeing these monies dedicated to road repair. Another several $100,000 put into the road budget would make a difference for us.
Absolutely.
But that's still to be determined. And,
the roads certainly need it, so I would agree with you.
Yeah, but that's at least my thinking at this point in time, and we'll have further discussions with my fellow board members and the advisory board to get their thoughts on it as well. So on the budget, how are we doing with the elementary school?
Great. I met with Dr. Alardi this morning, the superintendent. They're looking. It sounds like they're estimating, about a 4.2% budget increase is what they're looking for. Now we need to see how that fits into the budget. We've had some discussions at the selectmen's meeting about the budget, and as I said, the King Philip number is that's kind of the one number that's still up in play that we need to determine, and then I can really kind of crunch the numbers and get the rest of the budget shaped up. So the elementary school, they're trying to add, I know they wanted to add a half a custodian to the Freeman Kennedy School, which they've certainly got more space to take care of, and certainly the condition of the building, we don't want it to deteriorate. So such a great asset to this town. We want to make sure it stays a great asset. So I'm very impressed with Dr. Lardy's work so far, and
she's been wonderful to work with.
I've enjoyed working with her. So it's we've had a couple other kind of joint projects that we've worked on, and she's been great. So I look forward to trying to support that budget the best way I can.
Yeah, I as well. It's a realistic number, and I want to thank the school committee and the superintendent for approaching it the way they have, in dealing with the reality of the budget, number one, but also looking for opportunities where they can really utilize a few more dollars to improve and maintain what they've got going over there. So this has been a good budget process with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know on the King Philip side, you and I are trying to schedule a meeting with the other chairman of the other select boards of Plainville and Rentham, as well as the school committee chair for King Philip. So hopefully we can get that together next week. And
yeah, King Philip represents a huge chunk of our budget, and they have a very different process. And they're by law have to vote a budget in February, and it's always a preliminary budget, and it's always a wish list budget. And the number for Norfolk on that wish list budget is, I think, 15.46%, which is well over $1 million. Last year, I think the number was 18%, well over $1 million. We ended up down around 7%. The way the formula works, the 7% for us actually isn't a 7% for King Philip, because of the way the budget is divided and because of the formula, which no one can find anyone that knows how to figure it out, works. They actually ended up with around a 4% increase overall in their budget, even though I think the number was about 7.5%. So we're going to try and get it back down to the 7.5%, and rather than going through that long process we went through last year, which I think is frustrating to them as much as to us, we're hopeful that if we can get the chairs of the three towns, the town administrators, member of their school, chair of their school committee, superintendent, finance person together in a room, we can have a conversation that will allow us to, when it comes time for them to come before the board and the finance committees, will be more realistic, and we won't spend all of that time. I know they've made some major efforts to do some savings through their health insurance and other areas, so we commend them for that, but we have to get this number down into something that we can manage. And that's not just true for us, that's true for the other two towns as well. Mm-hmm. Rentham's number is well over $1 million, and I think Plainville is just under. I think it's 800 and some odd. So numbers that none of us can afford.
Right. I know one of the other budget opportunities we have that you've been a big supporter of is trying to get a town planner.
Yeah.
So that would be, something that is a weakness we've had for a long time, and it'd be good to have.
Yeah, we've matured to the point where we're really hurting ourselves and not having someone in this position. This town runs on the back of volunteers. If we didn't have people volunteering for these boards, we'd, no disrespect to the wonderful employees we have, but we'd have some problems. The people that work through our zoning bylaws, the zoning bylaw study committee, these are all volunteers, and most of them, if not all of them, really, I think, serve on other boards as well. So we need a professional that can come in here and work with us on our planning, on our bylaws. We have bylaws that are redundant. We have bylaws that are in contradiction of each other. We need to sit down and really revisit all of this. Also, a planner would be instrumental in working with our DPW, and working through some of the engineering considerations, would be a great asset to the water department, be a great resource to the planning department, would hopefully have the opportunity to oversee and sort of bring more cohesiveness to the planning board and the land use boards, and potentially even be our zoning enforcement officer. So it's a broad array of responsibilities, but we're going to work on trying to narrow down the definition of that job, and hopefully we can fund it in this year's budget, because we're hurting ourselves and not having that position filled. So I am an advocate for that, and hopefully we'll get support on the budget for that.
Yeah, no, and I think there's a revenue, some revenue generation that'll happen because of having a planner.
Agreed.
Trying to create some development. We've got some interesting regional planning going on, and between myself and the Economic Development Committee, we dabble in that when we can. but there are so many other things pulling us in different directions that it's certainly not either of our primary focuses. But if we had a town planner, just getting involved in the regional economic development would be a great asset and help us, open up doors for us for bringing in businesses that may have some interest in Norfolk that we just don't know about.
And I would add into that grants.
Yep.
Which we've often talked about having someone just here to write grants, because we leave money on the table all the time because we're stretched so thin. We just don't have the time to seek out all of the opportunities that are there for us. So you're right. Not only is we have to figure out a way to get in the budget, but we know that there will be substantial revenue that can be generated from this opportunity. So it's something we're going to work hard to make happen.
A couple of things that I just want to touch base on quickly were the school project. That's the Freeman Kennedy project. It's finally coming to a close. We still have that area over close on Boardman Street that needs some cleanup, and the school building committee has been agonizing over trying to get that finished with our builder. We're hoping that'll get done this spring as the snow melts here, and we can get the new field put in where actually the old Freeman Centennial was, and then finish up the parking lot over there and put the playground in. Where in the middle of the bus loop, there's a playground beautiful playground that'll go in place. So we're looking forward to finish up here, but I think everybody, I've heard a lot of good things about feedback about the school.
It's a great facility. Why don't you take a few minutes and share with people, you've worked very hard, you've been part of that committee from day one, and not talk about being stretched a little thin. Thank you for that. Share with folks a little bit about the financials on that, because it's a good story. The public projects tend to be they're tough sometimes, and overruns are not unusual in public projects. But this one has been very well managed.
Well, like you said, we have a great committee. I don't want to name them all because I'll miss one, and I don't want to do that. But the chairman, Leo Bedard, and vice chairman, Mike Judici, kind of and I will throw out Beth Gilbert as well. Because Beth was involved in the King Philip projects as well, and she was on the school committee, the elementary school committee, so she has been a kind of a key player. Three of them really have done a great job working with the project manager and making sure that every change order that comes through is kind of critiqued and gone through a process that we make sure it makes sense to us and that there aren't any add-ons, and there's a lot of opportunity for fluff.
There's a lot of nice to haves, and you folks have been very conscientious about ensuring that those nice to haves were critical.
Yeah.
And if they weren't critical, we didn't do them.
We've got some challenges. We're still working with the MSBA to make sure that some of the budget amendments that we have processed to get so that we end up getting our reimbursement back. So the committee is a little stressful these days because we're waiting for those budget amendments to be approved, and once they get approved, we'll receive some of the funding that we're owed from the MSBA. If those all happen the way we expect them to happen, we will have a good story at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It certainly won't be an overrun, but I'd like to see those go through so I can sleep a little better at night.
Well, I think in the long time I've lived here and the projects I've lived through, and having been on a building project with the HOD school, I think this will be the first project that's come in under budget.
No, I hope you're right.
Yeah. Well, I have faith.
Thank you.
I have faith.
And again, the committee has done a great job. Sean Dooley, too, as chairman of the school committee, has been a key player of that committee, and then Bob Bullock, building commissioner, has. You talk about being stretched thin. He's in that building during the construction. He was in that building every day for a good chunk of his day.
Well, I hate to put you on the spot, but can you mention some of the other folks on that committee as well? Because they've all been just very diligent. I know you run the risk of leaving somebody out, but you've named 4 or 5.
Lisa Altham-Hickey, the principal.
Yeah.
Annette McBride, one of the residents, volunteers. Andy Bakanowski has been a great asset to the committee. It really took the lead on, obviously, the photovoltaics up on top of the building. I got to make sure, go around the room, make sure I don't miss anybody. I think that's it.
Okay. And I would mention Jim Thomashefsky, who, when he served on the board, while he wasn't formally a member, attended every meeting and was a good resource for you.
It was good to have Jim's comments in the background reminding us to keep on budget.
There you go. He was our voice.
Yeah, he certainly was. He did play that role very well.
Yes, he did.
It's good to see Jim. I know Jim is still very active in the YMCA, and I know
The Lions.
And the Lions,
Yeah.
and Jim's got a program at the Y on Thursday that we're attending for their support, and we appreciate Jim's efforts. He's a very giving man.
Well, we're getting down to the end here. One of the things I want to remind folks of, and I know you have a few things too, is April 20th is baseball kickoff week. Saturday, the parade's always one of the great events in town. A lot of fun. So some days it's been pouring rain, so we're going to hope for sunshine, or maybe even just be happy if it doesn't snow, I guess. But that's a great day, and you've got a few other things as well.
Yep, the Grange has their annual Clean and Green campaign on April 6th from, I think it's, I wrote it down and crossed it out, 12 to 4, I think. But certainly check on that, and that's meeting at the Grange, and they just go around and they clean up the town. They do a great job, and DPW gives them some support, and appreciate them certainly beautifying the town. Town meeting we talked about, the election, April 30th, so it's an unusual day for us, but we moved it so that it coincides with the U.S. Senate primary. So April 30th at the Freeman Kennedy School. It's at 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. That goes. So come down and vote for the selectman of your choice.
And the U.S. Senator of your choice.
And the U.S. Senator, absolutely. We wish Representative Winslow well in his efforts. So, Jim, I don't want to steal your thunder, but I want to thank Katie and Katie Woodham and Kevin Gleason and Steve Gay from NCTV for helping us put the show on today. Thank you for being here. And
it's always a pleasure, Jack. We will make an effort to have another one of these shows prior to town meeting. The budget will be finalized. I think it would be helpful to go through it in detail. We could, I think, dedicate a line-by-line review of that budget before town meeting. That might be helpful for you folks before you get there to have a little bit of that background. So we'll plan on doing that.
Good to see you. Enjoy the spring.
Good to see you. Thank you very much.